Morning, my wonderful and esteemed students of Federal Government College, Port Harcourt. I am your government teacher, Ayibo Juliet. I'm here to take the SS1 students on government. The topic for today is Constitution. Firstly, I would like us to understand the aim and objectives of this lesson. That's to say, what we stand to achieve at the end of this lesson. Number one, the student should be able to define Constitution. 2, they should be able to identify the sources of Constitution. 3, discuss the features of a Constitution. 4, explain the types of Constitution. And 5, explain the term constitutionalism. Now let's go to the number one objective, which is the definition of Constitution. A constitution can be defined as a body of principles and rules by which a state is ruled or governed. Constitution is a body of agreed rules and principles according to which a state is governed. The constitution of a state is its supreme law, from which the powers of government are derived, and where the rights and duties of citizens of the nations are outlined. Constitution may be codified in a written form, known as document. It may also be in an unwritten form, such as convention, customs, and principles, which are not documented. Either written or unwritten, the main objective of Constitution is to establish the major organs of government, allocate powers to the organs, and outline the rights and duties of the citizens, and the relationship between the government, individuals, and all other institutions in the state. Number 2 objective, which are the sources of Constitution. The sources are the ways in which a constitution can be achieved, can be formed. Number 1, we have past experiences. The history of the people is considered in preparing the basic rules that are governing them in these states. Number 2, we have decrees. The laws made by military in many countries or states where the ceasefire serve as a source of Constitution. Number 3, we have the customs and norms. The behavior and ways of living of a people serve as important source of Constitution. It's also known as traditional laws. Number 4, we have the constitutional conferences. These are the avenues where constitutional ideas are discussed and resolved in preparation of a new constitution. Number 5, we have judicial precedents. The previous and important judgments passed and decisions taken in higher courts like the Supreme Court often form part of a new constitution. Number 6, we have conventions. These are rules and guides for behavior which are not written down but which people show their disapproval when violated. Number 7, Act of Parliament. These are bills passed into laws in the Parliament. They form part of a new constitution. Now we now go to the next subheading, which is features and scope of a constitution. I said features and scope of a constitution. Number one, we have the preamble. This is the introductory aspect of the Constitution, stating its fundamental objectives and principles of the state and the essence of the Constitution. Number two, the party system. Constitution defines the type of party system that will operate in a country. This must be clearly stated. If a country will have one party or multi-party system, to avoid confusion in the setting of the government of the state. Types of government. Number three, a constitution must state the type of government a state shall operate. Is it unitary or federal, presidential or parliamentary system? Now we have the next number 4, tenure of political office holders. A constitution must state the tenure of office of a government. Should local government functionaries be in office for 2 years or 3 years? Should an executive president spend 6 years, single term, or 2 terms of 4 years each in the office? Number 5, amendment procedures. The Constitution must also provide the procedures for its amendment. Should the procedure be rigid or flexible, or through simple majority vote? Number 6, fundamental human rights. The Constitution must enshrine the basic rights of citizens in the state. Number 7, qualifications of citizens. A constitution must define what qualifies a person for a state citizenship and how citizenship of a state can be acquired. Lastly, we have separation of powers. Constitution equally defines the separation of powers among the 3 organs of government, that is, executive, legislature, and the judiciary. Our next objective is the types of government. Types of constitution. We have various types of constitution, and they are listed below. Number 1, written constitution. Number 2, unwritten constitution. 3, rigid constitution. 4, flexible constitution. 5, federal constitution. 6, unitary constitution. And 7, confederal constitution. But today we are going to discuss 2 types of constitution: written and unwritten constitution. What is written constitution? Written constitution is said to be written. Written constitution is said to be written when the fundamental laws and principles of a state are written or codified in a single document. Written constitution contains fixed rules, customs, and principles of government, clearly written down in form of documents which can be consulted from time to time. We have features of a written constitution. Number one, it is written down in a single document. Number two, it has a preamble to express the important quality of the Constitution. Number three, it is rigid in nature. Number four, it states the method and procedures for its amendment. Number five, it explains the functions and the organs of government. Number six, it spells out the rights and duties of the citizens of a country. Now let's look at the merits as in advantages of a written constitution. Number one, easy consultation. It is easy to be consulted since it is contained in a single document. Remember when I was defining a written constitution, I said it is written or codified in a written document. What do I mean by being codified? It has code. It has coded numbers so that it can be easily referred to. Number two, protects the rights of citizens. It protects the rights of the citizens since citizens' rights are documented and citizens can seek redress in the law court when these rights are violated. Number three, political stability. The written constitution ensures political stability in a state since it specifies the duties and powers of government and the citizens. It also specifies the ways government can be easily changed. Number four, prevents conflicts. It prevents or minimizes any form of conflict or disputes in the country because of its references and consultation. Number five, it limits the powers of the government and guides against the emergence of dictatorship. Demerits of written constitution. Disadvantages of written constitution. Number one, not easily amended. The provisions of the constitution cannot be easily amended or changed because it requires special procedures for amendment. Number two, quick decisions are not possible. Quick decisions are not possible because of its rigid nature. Number three, brings about litigation. What do you understand by the word litigation? It is the act of settling disputes in a court of law. Since it is easy to be obtained and consulted, it may lead to constant litigation. Number four, it may cause friction. Written constitution has the possibility of causing disputes and conflicts among the organs of government, especially when there is clash of power and functions which are clearly codified. Number five, difficulty in interpretation. It can pose problem or difficulty in interpreting the provisions of a written constitution. Now let's go to the definition of unwritten constitution. Unwritten constitution is a constitution whose fundamental laws and principles of the state are not written down in a single document. Please Don't quote me wrong. I didn't say unwritten constitution is not written down. But remember I said it is not written down in a single document. The documents are scattered. That is what I mean. Unlike that of the written constitution, which is written down in a single document. And for the fact it is not written down in a single document, it is not easy to be accessed. I'm talking of unwritten constitution. Now, merits of unwritten constitution. Number one, flexibility. Unwritten constitution is dynamic in nature, so it can be easily amended in order to reflect current political, economic, and social situations in the country. Number two, quick decisions. Since the constitution can be easily amended, quick decisions can be easily taken by the government. Number three, easy to interpret. Since the constitution is flexible, the constitution can be interpreted easily. Number four, meets emergencies. The constitution is useful in meeting emergency situations since it is flexible in nature. Number five, absence of constant litigation. It does not lead to constant litigation since it may not serve as a source of reference in the court of law because it is not written in a single document. Disadvantages of unwritten constitution. Number one, encourages misuse of power. Since the constitution can be easily changed, it is possible for the government to manipulate its provisions to suit its selfish desires and interest. Number two, not easily referred to. Since the constitution is not documented in a single book, it cannot be easily obtained and studied like the written constitution. Number three, encourage dictatorship. Unwritten constitution can easily encourage dictatorship since the parliament is supreme and final. They can easily change the constitution to achieve their self-desires. Number four, violation of citizens' rights. Due to the fact that the laws, rules, and regulations are not documented, many citizens may not be aware of their rights, which may be violated. Lastly, we have number five, absence of checks and balances. Unwritten constitution does not have checks and balances, unlike a written constitution. We have come to the end of this class, and I believe the aim of this class is achieved. You've come to know the definition of a constitution, what a constitution is, and also the sources of constitution. Remember I said earlier, the sources of a constitution are the ways a constitution is being formed. You have also come to understand the features and scope of a constitution, and I also listed the types of constitution, and we have discussed 2 among the 7 listed, written and unwritten. Our next class, we are going to look at rigid, flexible, federal, unitary, and confederal constitution. Once again, I say thank you for being part of this class, and advise you and urge you to stay safe at home. Remember, social distancing is important. Always wash your hands